Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this Link to the Past Randomizer League Season 4, Week 7 matchup. This is Co-op InfoShare Inimizer. It's open. Our runners start with boots, but this is a matchup between Swordbeam Club, who need to do some winning to keep their playoff hopes alive, versus In Rod We Trust, who is leading the division. Swordbeam Club represented by IrritablePenguin and SEJay, In Rod We Trust represented by Breve and bsj72380. We ought to be getting underway here in the next minute or so. I hope that everybody is ready for a strong matchup. We've got four really good runners here, and they ought to come flying right out of the gate. As mentioned, In Rod We Trust has clinched their playoff spot. With 30 points, 10 wins, 2 losses, they have 2 games left to go in the season against Swordbeam Club, and Swordbeam Club is hoping to take both of those because they are locked in a battle for the second playoff spot in the Eastern Palace Division with Biumvirat. Biumvirat has already taken 1 game in this Week 7 and is up to a 9-4 record. And we are off. Let's see some instant divergence, shall we? With 20 bucks in the house and red potion in the sanctuary. We are getting top runners with the sank start, bottom runners with the start over there at Link's house. And then they're going to diverge immediately as well. So we're going to have everybody going everywhere and doing everything. Being co-op InfoShare, our runners on teams are allowed to talk to each other and in fact are very much encouraged to do so. Not only what items are where, but what rooms might have wall masters? Where does the Lionel lie as SEJay finds one on the way over here towards the everybody's favorite elder Sahasrahla and his closet? Speaking of closet, hammer in the closet. Looks like Uncle Tunnel's a little less interesting, and our top 2 runners are headed up in the general direction of the Lumberjack Ledge. IrritablePenguin going to give us our first look there. Brave right behind. And if anybody could spy that, that would be helpful because Penguin ducked in and right back out. Looks like a 20 as Brave has the look at it. Get a little information here, a little more information there. I'm not even sure what those guys are called. Those little bladed bunny rabbit guys who, if you slash the grass out from under them, will drop something for you, are handing out full magic today. Not a bad thing to get. And we have crabs in the Lost Woods. That's probably as good a place for them as any. Kind of interesting to see how some of these teams have decided to split up the labor here. We've got In Rod We Trust kind of converging on the village here, bsj from the south and Brev from the north. Well, Penguin has gone into the village for Swordbeam Club, but SEJay is all the way over at Ice Rod Cave, has taken the whirlpool over there. Finding a nice early sword there in Blind's old hideout. Both Penguin and Brev now have access to that. And I will say, as we're early in this one, that this is going to be a situation where audience participation is very highly encouraged. There's one of me, there's one of Seiryu. We are very likely to miss things, both in the commentary and the tracking portions of this, as we've got 4 runners doing very disparate things. So if you notice something, please say something. Like that red cane in the well that Penguin just snagged and that Bref will be snagging here momentarily, while bsj did opt to take that half magic off of the race game. SEJay seeing a 300 there on the Zora ledge does not have a way to get at that at the moment and wouldn't have had enough money for the Zora Lord anyway. Going to go ahead and head, it looks like villageward. See what else interesting comes out of this village play. The small child in bed doesn't really have anything interesting. The chicken shack doesn't seem to have anything interesting. The bottom two runners going to go ahead and get that sword out of blind sight out. Looks like they're going to opt for pretty much everything else in there. It is early days yet. You might want to have a few extra bombs and a few extra rupees available to you. The seed not really giving our runners a whole lot of information yet on where they might want to go. The hammer is nice. It'll be a part of Dark World access eventually, but it's not really changing anything for them at the moment. Looking to add a glove and of course a moon pearl to that here, hopefully in the near future. Otherwise, maybe it'll be a cape and a lamp and we'll see some Aga plays happen. Ah, thank you, Grey Corvid. Noting in chat there, Ether on the bottle vendor. Starting to stack up the coin collection. There are 3. We don't know which, if any of them, we might wind up needing today. Now, Breve appears to be heading in a rather south-shorewardly direction. BSJ going to pick up the Bonk Rocks here. It does seem that in a lot of cases, our top runners are in fairly similar circumstances and areas, and the bottom 2 runners are in fairly similar circumstances and areas. But we'll see how long that holds out. As Brev pulls Mirror and Lamp and 300 out of Mini Moldorm Cave. I missed the left 2 if those were anything at all interesting. And Penguin spies the glove there, our sunken treasure. Maybe a little soggy, but find the lamp and dry that out maybe, and you can put it to use. That also means we have some logical access to the mountain now, although not many checks available there. Nice use of Ether by Penguin and earlier by Brev there in the Mini Moldorm Cave, holding on to these little shadowy lurker guys now. BSJ, without the Ether Medallion, is having to resort to some sword spins to take care of those. Takes a little longer, but does get the job done. Brev has headed over to everybody's second favorite elder, Agina. A little farther out of the way, only 1 item in the closet, and it's just 20 bucks. Meanwhile, Penguin into the back of Escape here with that newly found glove can go ahead and bonk open this side wall and has 3 checks available. And BSJ going to make that Ice Rod cave play that SEJay made a little earlier. Our runner's decidedly sitting on that Moon Pearl at this point, waiting to see what we are going to find that in. Running a little low on locations for it, in point of fact. We can dip eastern without a bow, and go up the mountain for a couple of checks, and that's about the size of it at the moment. The nice thing about co-op, of course, is that you can send one runner to do one thing and one to do the other. Here we go. The one thing that I forgot about, the front of the escape sequence. BSJ going to head on in. I wonder if Sword Beam Club has decided to put that off, wondering if maybe this is going to wind up being Aga and the last play would be front of escape and then a death warp and just go ahead and climb the tower. But that would assume that there's a Moon Pearl on Pyramid Ledge, and who wants to guess that until they have to? The mountain not starting off all that well for SEJay, just a piece of heart. Bombs and the boomerang chest for BSJ. We'll start seeing Eastern from Penguin here momentarily, and Breve is headed in that general direction as well. Another piece of heart. It's looking like Piece of Heart Mountain at the moment. BSJ spying the map to Hyrule Castle and Zelda Cell, going to head on over into the dark. Penguin still not finding anything particularly of note there, but in the Enemizer, once you have, I believe it's the compass, you can check and see what the boss is, and our wonderful tracker Seiryu has caught that on the very quick map check. We have a Mothula here in Eastern Palace. BSJ encountering Lionels and all sorts of other things that go bump in the night, or at least in the dark down there in the basement of Hyrule Castle, finds a full heart container in Dark Cross. So nothing particularly noteworthy there. Either Eastern or Hera is likely to pay out here, although SEJay with that hammer as well could make it as far as Paradox Cave. Decent chunk of items over there, 7 plus 1 more in Spiral Cave if you really want to take the long, slow walk through it. The flippers in Eastern Palace, I don't know that they're changing a whole lot since we've kind of done the Light World flipper checks via sequence break at this point. Or at least can with the boots if we have not already. But they're certainly nice to have for later, if nothing else. There is another one of those nasty dark rooms on Penguin's screen, going to go ahead and take advantage of the Ether Coin to make it just a little easier. Looks like Brev took a little bit of an unfortunate fall on the back half of Eastern and is going to have to work back in from the start, while Penguin is going through rooms that normally require a bow, and logically still do require a bow, but, well, there are no red Igors here, so we're just going to go on through anyway. Just a little logical implication to have to worry about later. SEJay finding the shovel in Hera Basement. Well, thank you, game. That's not the kind of thing we really wanted to see there, but okay. Did I spend all this time for something valuable? I still don't know. BSJ, having stopped off in Saha's closet for the hammer, is now up the mountain and is heading in the same general direction that SEJay has gone. While IrritablePenguin puts the first crystal on the board for Swordbeam Club here at a little under 14 minutes. ₹300, the price for Spiral Cave. Unless you really need to pay off the Zor Lord, probably not going to be worrying about that one when IrritablePenguin gets up there. And breve is down again in Eastern Palace. Getting a nice long map check from BSJ there. We've got Pendant Pod, Green Pendant Skull Woods. We had Red Crystal Turtle Rock to go along with Red Crystal Swamp. Bit of an interesting mix. We now know that we're going to have to trust in all of the rods today. Going to need to find both fire and ice to get through Turtle Rock. And we have none of those, but we have no sword beams either. We're still stuck on, well, as I say that, SEJay finds the Master Sword, pulls that out of the 5-chest portion of Paradox Cave, and then the Tempered Sword as well. And as I was looking at everything else, Ray Corbett from chat pointing out that the Moon Pearl was in Paradox 2. So a little bit of everything up here on the mountain. SEJay, the first of our runners with the Dark World access, appears to be heading in the general direction of the cave formerly known as Hype. Penguin receiving the disappointment from the Zelda's Cell chest there. Going to go ahead and check out Dark Cross really quick. I expect that communication has already occurred and we'll see him go running right up the mountain here in the very near future. And surprise, surprise, it's Tripe Cave as usual as breve puts the hammer to work on the moth. Just pound the moth right into the corner. There are no spikes for it to cheat with, so moth feel up pretty free and easy. Evening up that crystal count between the teams at 1. BSJ getting a little bullied by the enemizered enemies here on the 4th and 5th floors of Tower of Hera. Is looking for a way to get... no, just wanted to step on the star switch for reasons. Going to go ahead and life up here. And maybe going to drop down. Seems to be a little indecisive. Breve going to go in with flipper checks here. We'll see the old man under the bridge if we haven't already. Well, SEJay gives us some confirmation of that map check that we already saw. Just bombs from the old man under the bridge, and yes, it is indeed Solo Main DM with Solo Seiryu on tracking. Welcome in, everybody. If you are joining us a little late, you have missed the opener. We have found most of our Dark World access eventually on the mountain. We had a glove in the Sunken Treasure area. We had the hammer in Sahasrarla's closet, and then the Moon Pearl up on the mountain. BSJ heading over to Paradox here, going to find that Moon Pearl in fairly short order, while Brev is into the Zora area. Has the flippers, could have that 3 hundo, also has 566, and is going to be able to give us a new check here from the Zora Lord. Just 10 arrows, not really worth the 500. Looks like Brev wants to replenish some of those rupees since there are still a few money checks left in the game. Going to go ahead and grab the 3 hundo off of Zora Ledge. SEJay, speaking of checks that still require money, gets a full heart container out of the chest game. That only costs 30, so a tenth of that 3 hundo that Brev just picked up. Penguin now with the Moon Pearl acquired, going to pick up a couple of swords here in Paradox 5. And BSJ now with the Moon Pearl is starting on into the Dark World. So again, we've got our runners kind of dividing labor in the same way that we had been seeing all along. Top runners doing more or less the same things, and bottom runners doing pretty much the same things. Penguin going to go for something a little different here, is going to go ahead and attempt to deliver this fish to the bottle vendor. You can get a variety of resources for doing so. Don't think we've seen anything truly valuable out of the front of Thieves Town just yet. There's the Butter Sword, which I guess has some value all its own when you never know quite what enemy's going to be around the next corner. BSJ is going to go ahead and give us our first look into Palace of Darkness. Does not have a bow, does not have a bottle, so technically a little difficult to get onto the right-hand side there, but a Mimic Clip may be in order, we'll see. SEJay spying Helmasaur King in the boss room of Thieves Town. Going to go ahead and take care of that before bothering to go to the back. Has to burn the red potion, unfortunately. Yep, Mimic's unlikely to be in the Mimic room, that is true. SEJay pulling down that crystal from Thieves Town, giving the Sword Beam Club a 2 crystals to 1 advantage, albeit however temporarily. So Brev, the final of our 4 runners to pick up the Moon Pearl and those next couple of swords, is apparently heading back towards Hera. May as well go and have the look-see there. Or could be making the play into Spike Cave instead. We have Half Magic, we've got the Blue Cane, Hammer Glove, this is all fully logical. May as well go ahead and make the check. And yes, those were decidedly not Mimics in the Mimics room. And equally decidedly not spikes in the Spike room. BSJ has discovered the flute over here on the front right side of Palace of Darkness. The butter sword, to answer Greg Corvid's question from chat, was in the Vanilla Big Key location in Thieves Town. It looks like the bow has appeared on BSJ's side, and so the Palace of Darkness now clearable. And the Palace of Darkness boss is Vitreous. Well, it's a good time to have a bow. BSJ definitely having a little trouble with that gigantic spike in the normally harmless Hellway. And interestingly enough, Penguin going to go ahead and stop off for that butter sword. We have the Swordbeam Club maybe following each other's footsteps here just a little bit, going to go ahead and pick up the crystal out of Thieves Town for the second runner on their team. While both of In Rod We Trust are over here, and Breve is about to follow BSJ into pod. Let's see if there's anything interesting in Dark Maze while everybody else is making checks we've already seen. The mushroom, another one of those questionable things to receive. You have no idea if there's value there yet or not. There were at least 2 items in the front of Thieves, and there may have been 3, so it may be that the last item was on the boss there, which would explain why SEJay and probably now also IrritablePenguin are going to be ducking right out. BSJ either counting items or just not particularly desiring to take on Pendant Vitreous in the normal Helmosaur spot there in the boss room of Palace of Darkness is over into Eastern instead. This one at least has a crystal attached. SEJay will give us our second look here at Spike Cave. Just that piece of heart. Not really interesting. And maybe we'll see a little convergence here on Palace of Darkness. Penguin going to stop off really quick, probably hop in the water, have a look at the Hylia Island. 20 bucks, not really worth getting the mirror out for. Also going to opt for another mirror here to check the hobo relatively quickly. Even while they're in the same general area, we're seeing that kind of division of labor here again as Penguin makes those couple of mirror checks while SEJay goes over to check the pyramid instead. Seems likely that we're going to see some convergence on Palace of Darkness, of course. Breve, having grabbed everything of particular note in Palace of Darkness, is heading off probably back to Kakariko to activate the flute. Now, the flute's not going to give us all that much at the moment, aside from some additional movement, which is always nice. But eventually it's going to get us over into the mire area. It's a little faster way up the mountain. Good thing to have all the way around. What we're probably really looking for here is mitts. And or the hookshot, which, as Grey Corvid is mentioning in chat, is slowly narrowing down to a potentially French vanilla location. Yeah, SEJay knows that EP has to happen at some point, not only because it's crystal, but also because the flippers are in the big chest. It's also a decidedly unkind back half of Eastern Palace. We've seen both Breve and now bsj take the fall here a time or two. There, once again on IrritablePenguin's side, is the flute on the right-hand side of Palace of Darkness. No real problem there on the Moth. Tempered Sword really does do the trick there. bsj pulling down a crystal. And we have seen the mushroom turn, and the mushroom leads to the Quake Medallion, the second component of our coin collection today. We still don't know which medallions we're going to need, but we know that both of the medallion dungeons are crystal, so we're going to need at least one. Let's see where bsj chooses to go after activating the flute here. Does choose to pick up that ether medallion off of the bottle vendor. SEJay pulling down the crystal from Eastern as well, so we have a 4-2 crystal advantage on the side of Swordbeam Club. We'll see how long that holds out, of course. We are in a bit of a holding pattern until we find the next actual piece of progression. Probably a good time here at the half-hour and change mark, as we're getting some looks at things that we've seen before, to go ahead and remind everybody, if you enjoy the show these runners have been putting on for you, to go ahead and give them a follow. IrritablePenguin and SEJay of Swordbeam Club, Breve and bsj of In Rod We Trust, put on a show for your entertainment here on this Thursday afternoon or early evening, maybe even late evening, depending on where you're catching this from. There is that bow in the vanilla big key location in Palace of Darkness. We knew that was in there somewhere, but that's the first time I've actually seen it on screen. Looked like there was a bottle of potion in the front of Thieves as well, so a little more safety. To go along with the butter sword, which, well, the best defense is a good offense, as they say, so a little more safety in a manner of speaking. So it looks like it went big key, the bottle, piece of heart, sword, and then bombs on the boss. So that explains why nobody else bothered to go to the back here. We found all the items. Looks like Penguin is now off for the flute activation, and SEJay may in fact be heading for the back here. Is that what we're doing? Yep. Wasn't entirely clear at first glance which direction he was setting those pegs to. Ooh, and it looks like In Rod We Trust has decided to divide this up by having one runner head for the boss and the other one go to the back, so bsj is going to give away just a little time here. Maybe unsurprisingly, the back of Thieves Town, not the most hospitable environment in the world. But bsj, before he gets back to that portion, is going to find out the last item is on Helmasaur King, as long as the two of them have been counting properly, and should just be able to go directly to the boss room. As Brev pulls down crystal number 2, raising In Rod We Trust's count up to 3. And there that play is as expected. Let's see where our left side runners are going to go with this duck. Penguin went over and took a quick look at the desert area, now turning in the mushroom, which is going to reward the Quake Medallion. Seems to be a bit of an open question if that shovel has been checked. Penguin is going to be over in the general vicinity, but does not have the shovel. SEJay finds blue mail on the magic bat with a fake powder. And this looks like the swamp play from IrritablePenguin, while Brev is over here on the northern Dark World loop. I believe we saw this from SEJay a little earlier without any particular value coming out of it. Going to get a fake powder here from bsj as well. Half magic makes it take a little while to drain that bar with the lamp, but here we are. Blue mail on Magic Bat. You will see it again here on bsj's screen momentarily. And it looks like Swordbeam Club believes they have more or less done everything that they can do. They have convened once again at Swamp Palace. Having exhausted most, if not all, of their checks, we find the map there and the bombable wall on the right-hand side. Thank you so much, game. It looks like Swamp Palace is going to be Rollerville today. By themselves, not the worst thing to find. Those big yellow spikes in small, tight quarters can be a little more difficult to deal with. Starting to look like everybody's going to be converging on Swamp here. We need something to crack this seed open, and that something is pretty much assuredly the Mitts. Speaking of the Mitts, there they are in the southern loop. IrritablePenguin has found them and is going to nope immediately out. It's an understandable choice. It's going to take SEJay another hot minute or so here to actually make the left side check, if indeed he wants to make the left side check. But whether he does or not, Breve and bsj are in hot pursuit, both going to be in Swamp Palace momentarily. Penguin finding the other blue mail, a mail upgrades of course being progressive there in the Mire Shack, a little old place where you can get 2 items. Also finds another bottle, that one had a bee in it. And yes, SEJay has in fact bailed from Swamp, is going to opt not to do left side. There it is, we are going to complete the coin collection at pretty much exactly 40 minutes and 1 second. Irritable Penguin finds the Bombos medallion while checking out Checkerboard Cave. And it is the Quake, which we found on the Mushroom Turn-In as the entry to Mire today. Now, interestingly, it does look like we have Swordbeam Club kinda chasing each other across the map at this point, but it's a crystal dungeon that you can full clear. If you happen to find things in it, great. If not, well, you were going to have to do it anyway, I guess. Brev has found the mitts and appears to be continuing, so we're going to have an interesting outcome here, one way or the other. Either In Rod We Trust is going to be giving away a little time here, or they're going to be gaining a fairly substantial advantage. Of course, we won't know about that for another minute-ish here. We do have to go through all the trouble of flooding this area, moving all the way over to left side swamp. You have to do the drop down twice because you don't actually have the hook shot yet. It's kind of an unfortunate position to be in, really, but well, if there's something over there, if the hook shot's over there particularly, that is a very substantial find. So we'll be waiting just a minute longer to find out. Ah, okay, I see what Swordbeam Club has done. Penguin found that Bombos medallion, mentioned it to SEJay. SEJay went and snagged that and is going to use that to crack open Ice Palace. Finally a melt source available. Those Gibos in the first chest room of Ice Palace, they're not taking the fall to the Bombos medallion, so SEJay has to slash them all down. Penguin trying unsuccessfully to avoid a whole mess of things there, getting up towards the torch puzzle, and eventually does take the fall. Let's see what Brev finds over here on left side swamp in the Vanilla Big Key location. A single rupee. So, unless they choose to go back on it later, still looking for progression, Swordbeam Club has gained a mild time advantage there, deciding to dip out after the mitts. bsj now doing something that I had on mind once those mitts appeared. We've got some Dark Death Mountain access here. Oh, Breve is going to be in Mire Shack finding that blue male, going to come across the Bombos medallion in Checkerboard Cave here momentarily. Or could simply opt to do Mire first, that's also a choice. Depending on where the fire rod ends up being, we may not require Bombos today. It's tough to tell at the moment, although BSJ is going to tell us whether or not we need it for Turtle Rock here momentarily. Ah, it was Ether. Ether for Turtle Rock. And Fire Rod in Mire, so lamp-locked Fire Rod today. As Danny Music is saying in chat, Bombos is definitely a nice thing to have just in case Innomizer doesn't behave. Imagine Innomizer not behaving. I'm sure you can do it. It does not require all that much in the way of imagination. Also a vanilla big key in Misery Mire, so no time to be saved there. Everybody's gonna have to do it. And BSJ is showing us Turtle Rock. Now, we've already found the fire rod over on IrritablePenguin's side, so if this is not a small key, BSJ's trip into TR is going to be done momentarily. That, in fact, will do it. It's the big key in the normally Chain Chomp's room. The boss of Ice Palace is a Moldorm, a three-eyed Moldorm in point of fact. Not that there's much point in mentioning it when you can just butter up the worm and the worm goes away in a couple of quick slashes. It appears that that general Innomizer cruelty exists here in the basement of Mire. Yes, we have wall masters in rooms that do not normally have wall masters. Breve has also discovered that fire rod in Mire, so going to make the quick check here, going to find this big key. We'll be able to communicate to BSJ. Well, you're gonna have to do it, I'm sorry, but at least you don't have to search everywhere else for it. Ah, and the Mire boss is Trinex. There is the requirement of the second rod. We're going to have to find it to collect at least one of our 7 crystals here. And it could be something cruel like come into Mire, get your fire rod, go up to Turtle Rock, get your ice rod from its vacation home on Laser Bridge, like it is oh so often, and then come back. The desert boss going to be a little more beatable here, just in Armos Knights. Of course, it's also a pendant, so we'll see if both items happen to appear bright and early. Maybe nobody's going to go visit those Armos Knights today. BSJ over here doing something that nobody else has gotten around to yet, the Smith sequence. At least I don't think they have. We've definitely seen some fake powder, but I don't think the Smiths were involved, because we found the mitts relatively late. Just a little bit of love from the Smitties for reuniting them. And Penguin has found both of the items here. The second one was a piece of heart, so nothing particularly interesting in Pendant Desert. The second half of the Smith sequence, that purple chest, just 20 bucks. It's a reasonable fee for delivering the man's lunch to him, but that's all you got. Looks like there may be a little hesitation on the side of Swordbeam Club to go up the mountain to Dark Mountain with no hookshot, but here we are. Once again, the seed seems to be funneling just a little bit. I wasn't going to say it, but now that you've said it, chat, yes, it would have been nice if something had appeared in SEJay's inventory to make the Mire Torch puzzle a little easier, like, say, the Fire Rod. Has the Fire Rod in hand, has the big key, knows that the boss's Trinex does not have the Ice Rod yet, so, well, here's the dip out, like you do. Now, Jesse, we can't have any truly SEJay types of moves, we don't have silver arrows yet. We only tease because we love. If somebody has the clip available, I'm sure they'll post it. Meanwhile, Brev has found that Bombos medallion is going to complete the coin collection. One of those just-in-case types of maneuvers. Again, a nice thing to have in the back pocket, just in case you run into another one of those situations where Inamizer doesn't really cooperate with you. And that is likely to enhance a look at the Turtle Rock portion of Dark Death Mountain. Brev up there looks like SEJay is heading in the same kind of direction. Looks like we're probably going to see a quick clear of Ice Palace here from Penguin. Appears to be at least in the area. And Brev is into Tower of Hera. I believe we did not wind up with a clear of this from anyone earlier because the boss was Cold Stare, but now we have a Melt Source. So, in fact, we have a couple of them. So we can see this crystal get onto the board now. And SEJay is going to attempt the hover and falls immediately. And nopes out. I'm reasonably certain the answer to that question from Orange in chat is no, but, well, for the memes, for the laughs. That's what Sword Team Club's all about, right? And here we are, the Cold Stare fight at the top of Tower of Hera. Brave going to go ahead and crack the shell with bombos, let those puffs get out and start partying on the dance floor. Of course, with the fire rod, you can party right back. That is a third crystal for Brev, tying our score between the teams back up at 5. Both Penguin and BSJ now in Ice Palace. SEJay has already done this. IrritablePenguin knows that nothing needs to be looked for, so going to get through this a little more quickly. And here we have SEJay in the torch puzzle. Does remember to kind of swing back around and get going the correct direction before getting into the midst of that torch puzzle. Need the hook shot to do it the other way. Let's see, what was fire rod locked? We have the last of the shields and a small key over there. That small key, what's going to allow our runners to continue further in. Let's see what Penguin's play is here. Maybe this is going to be a play into the back of Skullwood, something else that fire rod opened up. I believe there was only one item in the front. Of course, it's also the green pendant, so there's another item attached to clearing it out, potentially. Interesting replacement of enemies with spikes there in the room right before the Vanilla Big Key location, and that is just small key for a small key. Through the joys of co-op info share, you only have to find that out once. Penguin will not have to check that later. Similarly, BSJ is not going to have to check that chest later. It's tough to have a dream or a nightmare in that room that SEJay was in when you don't have pokies in it. IrritablePenguin dropping into what's normally the Mothula fight. Blind appears to have decided to relocate today. Blind on the moving platform. Thankfully the spikes don't actually move. It appears to be just waiting out Blind's drop down to the bottom of the screen, make life a little easier. Also preparing safety gain because, well, it's Blind and you're on a platform that's not really cooperating with you. Causes quite a bit of lag, but it does keep you nice and invincible until the boss falls over. bsj working on the worm here in the basement of Ice Palace. Once again, free and easy with the butter sword. And suddenly we are all tied up. All 4 of our runners have 3 crystals apiece. Now, in addition to that, Penguin does have that green pendant, and it looks like we're going to get a green pendant turn in here. Is the Ice Rod vacationing? There's only one more chance for it. We do find the cape, though. And it is not. You must search for your Ice Rod in another palace. IrritablePenguin finds the last bottle on the green pendant, so that was not our answer either. Now the question starts to become, what have our runners left behind? In the case of Swordbeam Club, there's definitely the left side swamp check available. It looks like Penguin may be heading for that now. Yep, back to Swamp Palace. Here we go. The question is, now that the return to Swamp Palace is on the table, does either member of Swordbeam Club decide to go ahead and check the left side really quick to make sure they're not leaving something else behind there, like an ice rod? We've already seen it from In Rod We Trust. We know that the answer is not over there, but Swordbeam Club does not know that yet. There is that hookshot again on the under the bridge chest in Skullwood. SEJay noping out does not need that bottle off of the green pendant. SEJay is going to go ahead and take the intentional overworld death here to maintain the portal. Interesting choice. I guess go back to Hookshot Cave, hope that your ice rod is in there, and then you can dive back into Turtle Rock. Seems pretty reasonable. It is Argus in point of fact. Myers, try next. Penguin finding the big key and some sticks there in Diver Down Room. Big key may or may not have some value left. bsj having a bit of a blind fight here. The first couple of phases went pretty well. Didn't even need to get, well, doesn't have safety cane, so could not have gotten it out, but manages to get through on the health level that he has. Looks like Breve has a similar idea, finding that hookshot going to go right back up the mountain. Alright, BSJ heading for that green pendant turn-in. Looks like Irritable Penguin is finally going to give that time back to In Rod We Trust, is going back into Swamp Palace. Going to go ahead and make that left side check. Also does have that big key in hand. The big key leads to the book, so we still don't know if it had value or not. Still one more step removed from knowing whether or not that play is going to pay out. Breve heading for that fight with Argus in the back of TR. We have the bug net, a full heart container, and SEJay's final item from the hookshot here is 50 bucks. A bunch of additional things that are still not the ice rod. The one begins to wonder with Turtle Rock and Swamp down at least between them. Swordbeam Club may have an eye on the Pyramid Fairy here in the near future. In Rod We Trust is going to have a similar situation where BSJ is going to have the Swamp Crystal here in the near future, and Brev has the crystal out of Turtle Rock. It was just low denominations of money here on left side swamp, a 20 and a singleton. We'd already seen it from In Rod, but now a little after the hour mark, Swordbeam Club was having to double back on that play where they found Mitts early on and decided to bail. Here's our first chance to find out if this book has value to our runners today. Bombo's tablet with some bombs. That's close, Bombo's tablet, but not quite what you're supposed to have. BSJ getting caught in the trap staircase there, unfortunately going back up to check that big key before doing anything else. Going to be rewarded with the book momentarily, and Penguin is about to show us the other check that it may be actually providing some value from. Looks like SEJay having some trouble with this anti-fairy here is going to wind up caping up, I think, to try to get the trick to go. But the anti-fairy is taking away the Samaria block. Looks like BSJ is in a bit of a similar circumstance, in point of fact. Looks like both of the runners are going to give up on that diver down in the back. That anti-fairy was just not having any of it. What locations are we actually missing at this point? Because our book did not lead us to tablets. And we're kind of running low on locations. The floor at this point is open for chat's favorite little bit of speculation, as Irritable Penguin has taken an unfortunate fall here. Cold Stare, not the normal worm, but Cold Stare has decided to pop Irritable Penguin right into that center hole. 2 floors falling. SEJay taking down that swamp crystal appears to be heading in a kind of pyramid fairy word direction. As Penguin tries to shove right back there, tries to put the puffs into the center hole. They can't fall down, of course, but it does trap them there, and then you can butter them right up. Seems like we're hitting crystals at a pretty quick rate at this point. Penguin just needs 2 more. Looks like SEJay is still waiting on 3. bsj waiting on 3, and just 2 needed left now on Breve's side. So, again, our teams are even on that crystal count. There is the Ice Rod in, Pyramid Fairy left. Pyramid Fairy also vending red potions, and there's a full heart container on the right-hand side there. So that's going to do the trick, I believe, as far as Swordbeam Club is concerned. That is everything that they need, aside from just going and beating all the bosses. bsj now up on the mountain, probably heading for both Hera and TR here. Brev going to go get the information the team needs, though. Already had TR done, has Swamp done now as well, and can make that Pyramid Fairy check to find the Ice Rod. SEJay having a bit of trouble there with those shadows and mire too, but eventually gets the hookshot into them. bsj going to stock up on some potion, going to hear the good and bad news that the Ice Rod's location is known, but that the Turtle Rock clear is going to have to happen before you get it. Another mountain climb is indeed on the table. At this point, I would say that Swordbeam Club has a decent, although not insurmountable lead. Certainly an advantage, we can call it that. Brev has found the Ice Rod. Looks like a quick go mode of the Ice Palace is in order here, and then we'll be on to that 7th crystal over at Mire. The Trinex, for those of you who are joining us mid-race here, is in Misery Mire. It is in Vitreous's boss chamber. And we had an early incompletion of Turtle Rock while we were still looking for the hookshot, because Argus lies at the back of this dungeon. Irritable Penguin and bsj both heading in that direction here. There's that Trinex. SEJay is absolutely putting butter to it. Everything's better with butter right, buttered worms, buttered snakes, buttered eyeballs. That's the way this game rolls. That is crystal number 6 for SEJay. One more to go. Gets to do Hera last. Of course, his compatriot IrritablePenguin has a little while longer to go yet. Has to both get the boss down here, take that Argus out, then go collect the Ice Rod off of Pyramid Fairy's left. And then and only then is going to be able to defeat Misery Mire. So SEJay likely to be in a position where the entire basement of the Ganon's Tower gets checked before Penguin is remotely in shouting distance. Which, depending on how the team feels about their chances at the moment, might mean that he takes some time to find the silvers if he doesn't just stumble upon them. Tough to say at this point, of course. It is kind of the nature of any rando player to think that at best they're even and more likely are behind. And every second counts. It is, after all, a race, and the Swordbeam Club does need to take a couple of wins this week if they can at all manage it. As mentioned at the top of the show, they are locked in a battle for the other slot for playoffs in their division, the Eastern Palace division. In Rod We Trust is the team that has already clinched a spot in that division. But Swordbeam Club facing off against Biumvirat in this final week, trying to take down spot number 2. Breve, now done with ice, going to head over to Meyer, just has to rush into the back and put the Trinex away, since, well, the Fire Rod was in there to lead to all of the rest of this madness, and the big key was over there on the Firelock side as well. Everybody has it. Cold Stare really not cooperating at the top of Tower of Hera, but SEJay with the Butter Sword is going to get the job done eventually. There it is. BSJ has his key off of Laser Bridge, going to get into the back here, has to go play a little game of hookshot with Argus. And as Seiryu is mentioning in chat, our wonderful tracker, you have a very brief window to get your guesses in if you have a thought of where in the 22 checks worth of rubbish one is treasure. That big key to Ganon's Tower that SEJay is going to start rummaging around for right about now. Just has to wait out this little crystal cutscene and the stair extension. And it appears that SEJay is going to head left. We've got a small key on the torch for check number 1. Always kind of amusing to see Hyrule Castle guards in here in Enemizer. There is BSJ pulling down the crystal from Turtle Rock. That gives him the 5-6 Wombo combo and access to the Pyramid Fairy and thus the Ice Rod. Breve and Penguin both on the way to make use of that. Breve here momentarily. Penguin still has to go through a few rooms and get into the basement yet. Bit of an uncooperative ice head here for Brev, but the Butter Sword will get the job done here sooner or later. Half magic means you don't have to worry all that much. The Silver's in Hope Room, so that's free and easy. Even if you do have to go left to get to the big key, you may want to just dip down there really quick to make life a little easier. In watching all the rest of this, I may have not noticed, but is BSJ being a little over-anxious here and getting back into Mire? I think there may be a stop that is required first. And there it is. BSJ has realized that there was a step in the process that was skipped. The trip to Pyramid Fairy still needed. As Brev has already taken down that Trinex, it's exploding for Irritable Penguin now. SEJay is at least halfway through this trip into GT Basement. Has found Silvers, has still not found the big key. That appears to be 7 crystals now for everyone except BSJ, who is still missing Mire and Tower of Hera. SEJay into Rando Room. We should see here momentarily whether or not it's just a trip to Ice Armos. Art container, 10 sticks, and 20 bucks. We're down to Bob's chest, Ice Armos, and of course, everyone's favorite. Brev now into GT. The checks can commence for In Rod We Trust. Let's see, is it Bob's chest? It is not. That is but a small key. And we have no Ice Armos today, we have Iceland Molas. An inconvenient boss, but not insurmountable, particularly with Butter Sword and Silver Sticks. 2 swipes of butter or 1 silver arrow will get the job done here. The Arrow of Destiny, a Piece of Heart, and there is the big key behind Ice Armos, a very close to vanilla big key, but not quite. Knowing that, Penguin is going to go ahead and grab those silvers and head left. Brev's still making these checks, but it's beginning to look like it's in vain. Sword Beam Club both in the Cannon's Tower now. SEJay already beginning the climb. Now, there's a dangerous room for you. We've got spike rollers all over the place, and a chain chomp, and one of those little dancing skulls, just to make sure that your life is interesting. Speaking of keeping your life interesting, breve just barely getting around that Wallmaster. The Wallmaster and the Hinox just not really well, they're cooperating just fine. It's just the hero who's not so enthusiastic about it. bsj with the Trinex fight, again, Butter Sword just doing all the damage like it does. SEJay now through the gauntlet as IrritablePenguin is working on these Iceland Mullas. Appears to be a Butter Sword battle. And bsj pulls down the crystal from Meyer, just needs the one from Tower of Hera now. Kind of a silly room. Wizrobes 1 normally had some mini Moldorms in it. Shrubs 2 has some mini Moldorms in it as well, along with some Gibdos and a mini Helmasaur. Which, believe it or not, from the glitched sprites that we're dropping, appears to have dropped a full magic decanter. Ah, here we go. We have a classic Enemizer right here. The big yellow spike in Torches 1. Rather than trying to get back through, just going to spend the heart and fall off makes all the sense in the world. Already knowing where that big key was has saved Penguin some time. Now with the gauntlet well underway, and Breve only now getting on towards the Iceland Mullas. Quick chance for guesses. We will see one final boss here. One boss changed. Who do we have? It's another Cold Stare. Looks like Cold Stare being swapped out 1-for-1 with Moldorm today. Tower of Hera and again at the top of GT. $50. We have SEJay checking the ultimate chest of the game, finding that it is 2.5 times its vanilla value. And SEJay just going to cape up through that room that is normally conveyors and death. Well, it's still conveyors and it's still death, but a lot of things have been changed around in there. And much safer to just cape up, make sure that you get through whatever roller or spike or Lionel or anything else that has replaced the mini Helmasaurs in there. bsj with a great deal of fire rottage there at the top of Tower of Hera takes down Coldstare. Little does he know, because Brev has not told him yet, that once again that fight will resume at the top of Ganon's tower, but that is 7 crystals in hand for bsj, who will be the second and final member of In Ra Do We Trust to enter Ganon's tower. Just have to take a quick step into the portal here and enact the cutscene. While we were keeping our eyes on that, SEJay had a nice quick fight with the wizard. And it is time, the first of 4 runners here in this co-op InfoShare Randomizer matchup, to face off with the pig. Running maybe a little low on health there, opts to use the red potion, going to go ahead and hookshot as well to make sure that the health preservation remains. And SEJay appears to be on through Phase 2 and has begun Phase 3. bsj does appear to be taking that full right strat towards Ice Armos, interestingly enough. SEJay, however, is into Phase 4, going to go ahead and take Torch Glitch since the pig is right next to him, but then hugs the pig and so does not get a nice double or triple. That will do it. 4 silver sticks into the pig, and the pig explodes. SEJay is going to stand there for just a minute with that sword raised in the victory pose, waiting out this fanfare in the bridge extension. And his teammate IrritablePenguin is right behind. There's SEJay crossing first, is going to take this one. Or at least so he would think. With Penguin right behind, we'll see. That's going to do for Aga 2. SEJay finishing there. Let's get the official race time. SEJay of Swordbeam Club has finished first in this race with a time of 1 hour, 31 minutes, and 34 seconds per race time GG. Go ahead and get your GGs in chat if you have not done so already. There is the pig crash landing. Penguin going to be the second runner into the Ganon fight. Brev up here in Torches 2, now on through into the normally mini Helma room there. But barring something truly catastrophic from IrritablePenguin here, it looks like this is going to be a little too late for In Ra Do We Trust, as Brev sees the second cold stare at the top of the mountain. Penguin on into Phase 3, bsj has collected that big key, is going to begin the climb. But IrritablePenguin and Swordbeam Club are about to go through the second round of putting silver sticks into the pig. We are closing in on the end of this one, folks. He's going to let both torches go out. Looks like he's going to try to set up the double or triple here. One final silver stick into Ganon. The pig explodes again. Again, we've got this roughly 15-second fanfare to play out. Penguin will be able to cross the bridge at that point as long as no strange inputs occur. And there you have it. No need to do math on stream today. IrritablePenguin has finished second in this after his teammate SEJay. That means Swordbeam Club has finished first and second in this race and has taken this game against In Ra Do We Trust. Go ahead and get your GGs in chat for Irritable Penguin, who finished with that race time GG time of 1 hour, 33 minutes, and 50 seconds. And as Breve puts down the wizard, we are joined in the booth here by both Irritable Penguin and SEJay of Swordbeam Club. Gentlemen, good game to you.
Thank you very much.
I hate Animizer, but thank you.
Well, that's fine. Your teammate, so you play it anyway, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, the original plan was not with me playing this week, but I needed a 5th game because my power went out last week, so I couldn't do open, so here I am.
Yeah, imagine having technical issues. Happens
Big shout out, though, to Penguin. I was super confident that the right play was TR. And I was telling him, I was like, just follow me into TR. Like, we're just going to go into TR. We're going to find our hook shot. Boss is going to have Ice Rod. Like, we're good to go. And he was like, no, you do TR. I'm going to do something else. And lo and behold, what a champion for making that call, because he was right.
I just believe in Skull Woods. That's it.
Because it's a kinder, gentler dungeon than TR, especially when it's Inimizer, and who knows what's going to be in there with all of those things that are normally anti-fairies.
Yeah, we were talking.
I know that I can't get Trinex in there, and I know that it's a green pendant, so there's an extra item.
Yeah, we were talking after the race, and we were both, I think, really happy with the time we were able to put up for the seed. You know, it was, a required Swamp double dip, a required Mire double dip, a required TR double dip, I think, for Ice Rod, or maybe you could single dip TR, but like there was just a lot of things that could have made this seed go really sideways, and we really didn't lose our cool. We didn't have any deaths that were like really tilting. We played very cleanly, and you know, happy that, you know, we won the first one. The playoffs are still in our control. If we win game 2, we're in, and if we lose, it'll probably be Biumvirat getting in. You know, it gets a lot hairier if we don't win game 2 on Saturday.
There was a little conversation about that while we were going along, but while we were having that little brief chat, go ahead and get your GGs in chat for Breve in Rod We Trust, going to cross the bridge there. Race time 1 hour, 36 minutes, and 16 seconds. We do also have Breve in the booth here, as bsj is working on through the Torch 1 room. That very classic Inimizer big yellow spike in Torches 1. How does that feel?
I was in that room like, oh, I can't. do I have enough magic to use Cape? And then forgot, like, there's just magic in the next room anyway. That doesn't change yet in Inimizer.
I was deliberately keeping my green potion for Torches 1 before we even knew it was there, because I've seen too many yellow spikes there this week.
Yeah, it's a pretty safe assumption.
Also, GG.
Yeah, good games.
Yeah, good game.
Yeah. A bumpy ride. Yeah, GG's.
Yeah, bumpy ride is pretty normal for Inimizer. Now, Breve, your team in Rod We Trust was the first team in this division to clinch, so, you know, maybe having dropped the game not as worrisome, but of course you always want to win. What are your thoughts going into game 2?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it's nice not to have to worry too much this week, because, like, yeah, our schedule is like, it was hard to get things scheduled, so I'm playing twice, even though I'm like the least big Inimizer fan among us. Just because like the schedule's worked out that way, but it's nice to be like, okay, don't have to worry too much about like, yeah, dropping games. Because yeah, obviously it'd be nice to win, but in terms of like being seeded, however, going into playoffs, like it's random, so seeding is not like like the biggest worry in my mind anyway. I'm kind of like, it's okay, just try and like co-op's still fun even if I get wrecked by Enemizer. So yeah, trying to enjoy it.
And it's not invitational, so, there aren't those one or two teams that you're just really hoping not to run into. The seeding may be a little less of a thing that's front of mind for Open.
I mean, maybe, yeah. There's definitely like good teams. I mean, we're up against a good team this week, and there'll be other ones in all the other divisions that make it through. But yeah, I don't know. I just tend to think like in rando in general, like seeding is all over the place. It's just in like every tournament. But yeah, maybe the league format does make it a bit more consistent, definitely.
That is the interesting bit from rando. Anybody can win on any given day.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's just there has been with this week just difficulty scheduling. It's rough enough to try to schedule across the Atlantic Ocean. And then on top of that, having some tightness and availability on our end this week as well. Not necessarily the most ideal scenario, but happy that we are, able to get the games in at least, and trying to do the best we can without, making the real world too mad.
Yeah, it is the same for us. Like we had limited availabilities and stuff as well, and just like kicking about. So I was like able to play twice. I wasn't sure, but yeah, no, it's fine. We got all the games in, so like no one's dropping points for not getting their required games or anything. So it's all good. How did you guys find the seed?
We played it pretty well for the most part. Penguin had the play of the game, I was saying, just before you got here. I went up to Turtle Rock, and I was being, a little arrogant about it. I was trying to convince Penguin to come to Turtle Rock with me, because I was like, it's fine, it's going to be in Turtle Rock. Just follow me into Turtle Rock. And he wouldn't budge. He went into Skull Woods, so I'm on Laser Bridge, and he's like, I found your hook shot. It's like, well, look, that's good, because I could save my portal there at least by getting the item. So that was nice. The GT Big Key, I feel like anymore, I either find it right off the bat or item 21. Like, I don't get a middle of the ground one anymore. It just seems like that's the way it goes. But other than that yellow spike and torches one, which had me a little confused, I think we played pretty well. I do love getting tempered in butter early in Enemizer seeds. I think that it makes them much more enjoyable.
Yeah, that was super nice to just get and be like, I can just bat away the rocks and give those. Yeah, I did a similar thing. I think like we probably collectively spent like too much time on the mountain anyway, but I had done like the same thing of just like going into TR, and then BSJ found the hook shot while I was on Laser Bridge as well. But yeah, I don't know. I think dying a lot, both of us dying in EP, was quite painful.
That's a bummer.
On the way to Big Key Chest, and then again in the back. So that was pretty rough.
If I can duck in here for just a second, BSJ has crossed that bridge, going to go ahead and bring this thing to a close. Unfortunately, not going to be able to join us for an interview. One of those life things that's made scheduling so difficult, I think, is going to preempt his availability for the interview, but good game to BSJ, crossing with a 142.11 in race time.
Yeah. About this game I'm jealous of is SEJay got red mail because he was fake powdering while I went and turned in mushroom.
Yeah, I had Penguin going to do it, and he's like, you have blue cane, right? He goes, it's going to take me a long time with half magic to drain my magic bar with red cane, so you told me you do magic bat.
Yeah.
And then it was quick on mushroom, so I had to grab it just in case, and it turns out we needed it anyway, so no red mail for me.
Yeah, we were figuring out like how to do like who would take what mushroom thing and whatever, because like yeah, I had like Dawn Eastern earlier, and then bsj was first into Dark World. So I was like, well, you could go to like Hype and then check out Pod and get flippers. And then he's like, flutes in here, and I was like about to go to Village of Outcasts. I was like, fine, I'll go and get that. And then he went in the mushroom, and then we were just like, oh, who's gonna do what here? So yeah, I ended up mirroring out of Pod and just turning in the mushroom. Then he did fake powder. And yeah, I was kind of like, it'll be good information, but like I've already ordered my mushroom, so if that's important, I'm gonna need to find powder anyway. And then it never showed up, so like that could have been worse.
Yeah, I never saw it. I would imagine like we didn't have that much left to check. It had to have been like GT Big Chest or maybe mini Helma room in GT, those last 3 checks or something like that. But yeah, we were feeling really good. We felt like we were playing good, and then that hookshot hunt had me feeling a little uneasy. I felt okay because I saved my TR portal, so it wasn't like I wasted all that time going through TR again, but it does feel bad. You know, that I could have had my hookshot my first time there, but you know, it's just a gross seed having to go into Pendant Pod and having to go into Swamp Hookless and having to go into Mire, and then you can't beat it, and then it's Red Crystal, and then it just was kind of a gross seed.
Yeah, it's definitely remembered. Like we were down to like, yeah, after getting the book in Swamp, we were like, oh, it's like tablets or head, right? And we hadn't killed any dependents, and then I got it and was like, oh no, there is still Pyramid Fairy, but yeah, we like full cleared the game at that point, and just all sorts of runarounds. But yeah, that's how it goes.
Now, earlier on in this conversation, there was some discussion about the game too here. Would you guys kind of lead us into that one?
Yeah, y'all have fun. I'm gonna watch.
Yeah, me and Sean will be playing on Saturday for our team. I think it's at 10 a.m. or noon Eastern.
That sounds right. Yeah, 4 o'clock for me. Yeah, it'll be me and Sin on our side. Yeah, see how it goes. I don't know if I'll get a chance to play with Sin before then, but I don't know. He likes Enemizer, so at least someone will enjoy it. I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, co-op's always fun. Like that's been my favorite kind of part of League, is trying co-op modes, which I'd never done before.
I agree. I think that all of my matches, except for one, were a mode where I could talk to my teammate. I think I did Fad Keys and I had to step in for an open, but otherwise it was co-op week 1, both games. It was pilot. It was this week, both games. I really love the co-op modes.
Yeah, I like really wanted to pilot in spoiler week as well. I'm doing that both games. She agreed to it, so I was just like, yeah, this is what I find fun after the old endings.
We'll start with Brev, then I think. Any final thoughts on this one before we start looking forward at scheduling?
Not really. I think I said it all really. Just it was see, definitely curious for a loop. But yeah, I'm glad it was like we were all like fairly close together, like around 10 minutes, and that's a very good race. And yeah, just GG's. Thanks for the restream and commentary and everything.
And Penguin and SEJay?
Basically just echoing what Rev said. Thanks for restreaming it, thanks for commenting, thanks for tracking it, all that fun jazz. I hate Enemizer, but this was not that bad.
Yeah, I had fun. Look forward to Saturday, you know. We don't have the same luxury of in Rod we trust. We have to win or panic for that match on Sunday, so it'll be fun to play, and this division has been crazy all year. And it, a couple weeks ago, I think there was like 6 teams that were still realistically in the fighting for first place, and so it'll be fun to see how it all finishes up. But I had fun playing and enjoyed it.
Good game once again to all of you. This was a League to the Past Randomizer League Week 7 matchup between Swordbeam Club and In Rod We Trust. As you've just heard, Swordbeam Club knows that they still need to take the other game in this match. Their destiny is in their hands, but only if they win. The In Rod We Trust team, on the other hand, already has punched their ticket to the playoffs, so come back on Saturday for that match. Meanwhile, we do have a couple more restreams for Open League matches this evening. At 8:40 p.m. Eastern over on Speed Gaming 2, we have Amish Paradise versus Rando Babies, which I believe is a win-they're-in matchup for both teams. Both at 27 points right now, so that one ought to be a very interesting watch. Also coming up on the ALTTPR League, this channel, tonight at 10:10 p.m., we have JK Lull versus A Deadly Case of Explosions. That is just a matchup preceding JK Lull with 30 points leads their division. Deadly Case of Explosions is out and is just playing for pride and fun at this point. As for the Invitational League coming up at 8:10 p.m. Eastern Time, we have on Speed Gaming 6 a matchup between Les French Canadiens versus Frozen Leftovers. At 11:10 p.m. on Speed Gaming Prime, we've got a matchup between Swirly Coin Brewing and Mogliacci. That is a matchup between 27 and 30-point teams. That definitely has some seeding implications. And also at that same 11:10 p.m. time slot Eastern Time over on Speed Gaming 2, going to have a matchup between the Immortals and Waffle House Drive-Thru. So if you have not gotten enough of your Link to the Past randomizer fix yet today, fear not, there is more coming your way. I am MindDM, our tracker, Wonderful, has been doing all the work today, SeJay following all 4 runners, keeping me honest, with, of course, also a little help from chat. Thank you all so much for coming out, giving us an hour and 45 minutes or so of your time today. One more reminder to follow the runners: IrritablePenguin, SEJay28, breve, bsj72380. Our restreamer today doing all of that technical work behind the scenes, SSBM Oro. They also play some Link to the Past randomizer on their own time. I recommend giving them a follow as well. But with all of that said, I think it is time to go ahead and wrap this thing up. Whether you come back for some of those later matchups or not, have a good rest of your evening, everybody.